What's up, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down what's happening with the economic calendar going into tomorrow, as we have important data coming out. Not to mention big news about the markets. But let me just mention that I am not a financial planner, so make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, but benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, for NIO, as you guys can see, this stock has actually seen this big dip all the way down to this 3.9 area. And since hitting that, we're actually seeing an attempt for buyers to defend it, establishing a possible higher low. So I think that there's going to be an attempt to rebound in the morning for the markets. We might see a little bit of a push for the first 20 to 30 minutes. I think that we're going to likely try to test some of our key moving averages. However, whether or not this move lasts depends on some very important data. Tomorrow, we have some very important services data coming out for the PMI report, not to mention new orders, prices, and employment. So I think that once this data comes out, there's going to be a very, very big reaction. When the manufacturing and unemployment numbers came out on Thursday and Friday, the market dumped on both days. So there's a good chance that services data might not be as good. So that does make me a little bit concerned that we might see something similar happen again. So I presume that if the market does try to rebound, there still could be a big rejection coming if we get some bad data. I'll be watching for that very, very carefully. So I'll break down more information about this on the charts, but just notes that there's a lot going on. A lot of people are going insane right now about the facts that Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway have once again reached a level to record basically $277 billion in cash after they ended up slashing a lot of their stock holdings. That includes Apple. They actually reduced a lot of their Apple stake. And in my opinion, it just shows that they're just managing risks very well, and they're getting ready to buy the dips during potential pullbacks in the markets. And I think that's what's going on thus far, especially amidst all the uncertainty there is about the way equities are moving. For other factors about the market, I just want to mention that the other stocks out there, like Berkshire Hathaway announcing earnings, we have Palantir as well. After the market closes, we have them announcing earnings. And we have a few more like Walt Disney, Shopify, and a few others as time goes on. So we'll be talking about all of these earnings at least for the week. Other pieces of news, I just want to mention that there's still a lot of talk about what's happening involving the situation in the Middle East. I think that this could affect the markets, so just be ready for this in case something were to happen, in case there's news that's coming out. As of right now, I just hope that things don't escalate too much, but it's still making a lot of headlines, so just be prepared for that just to be safe. On top of this, there's still a lot of news coming out about the SAM rule recession indicator. This is starting to go off because of the fact that unemployment is once again going up, and this tends to be associated with recessions, at least the large majority of the time. This suggests that we are entering a recessionary environment, and this contraction we're seeing in data is once again causing more fear in the markets. That's why the market's being more driven by fear, and we're seeing a lot of selling that's going on. So be prepared just to be safe. Finally, when it comes to NIO is once again talking about their AI capabilities as they're meeting up with many, many specialists out there and talking about their own capabilities that are improving. There's also been some talk about NIO's Onvo. NIO Onvo is expecting to see its first production car roll off the production lines as soon as mid August, and that's very, very important and great news for them. This will give them a lot more competition in Europe, especially when the L60 comes out. And I think it's very, very cool. The interior is supposed to be unveiled within 2 weeks, but this is what it's going to look like starting at about $30,000 USD, which is not a bad price whatsoever. This is going to be very, very cool. Once they come out with the production line and such, they should be going into sale in September, very, very soon. And that's once again a very, very good piece of news for them because this will give them a lot more competition across different European countries, and also it'll help them get another price advantage. So cool stuff, at least for NIO, in my personal opinion. For other pieces of news, I don't see anything new coming out from analyst ratings. They haven't been talking much about NIO, with the Bank of America Securities giving them a neutral rating. Price risk ratio is still down, all the way down to these low percents because NIO has been relatively weak. And Mondays tend to be green only about 48 to 49% of the time. We tend to be more volatile at 1 p.m. and also during the final hour of the day. And we have about 40 million volume, which is below average. So that's what I'm seeing thus far, at least for NIO. As far as the share price goes, I just want to mention that we could be establishing a higher low right here. If we end up losing 3.9, I think we're going to be dipping down to 3.7. That's going to be our next support zone to watch for. But if we hold this support, we manage to hold around this support right over here above $4, we'll be looking for a rebound to about 4.2. I think NIO is kind of stuck within this range a little bit tight, but I think what's going to most likely happen is Just like the markets, NIO is going to attempt to rebound to 4.2 in the morning, and then we'll see if we get a rejection or not, depending on what comes out with the data. So look for a little rebound in the morning. Watch us retest potentially 4.2 as the most likely possibility, and we'll see if you reject or not, depending on what kind of data we get. For SPY, I'm seeing something similar. I think that the hourly is showing a little bit of an attempt to rebound. It is possible that SPY tries to push a little higher. We could get very close to about 533. If this breaks, we're going up to 535. Now, even if SPY does test 535, it does not mean we're just going to continue to squeeze or anything like that. Might be a little rebound if we break past 533. And then if we reject, we'll be coming back down. If there's an unexpected piece of news and we lose 528, we'll be dipping to the mid 520s. If that ends up being the case, that's a more bearish case. And the bullish case would be us breaking 536. That would take us back up towards 540 if we do close above that. In my opinion, I think SPY is going to rebound just a little bit, attempts to test 533, if not 535. And we'll see if we get a rejection depending on the data. I can't predict the data perfectly, guys. It really depends on different factors, but I can tell you that for the last couple of trading days, the data has been pretty bad. Manufacturing numbers are still showing more signs of contraction, more weakness in that sector, and unemployment was above expectations, which is what caused the market to dip. So in this case, I think there's a good chance we might try to rebound a little bit. It's still very possible SPY makes an attempt to do so, but we'll see if the move could last depending on the data. So watch for that very carefully. For Nvidia, I'm seeing something very similar on the hourly time frame. If we could get back above 108, I think we could get very close to about this 112 area, maybe a little bit below it. And then if we get bad data, we could reject off the 110 to 112 area and come back down towards 104, or we could break through this, continue to push back up towards 116 if we get good data. So look for an attempt to rebound in the morning, and then when the data comes out, we'll see if we get a bounce or not. And once again, the data comes out at 9:45 a.m. That's going to be the minor part of it, just the S&P Global Composite PMI. And the main piece of data, the main time to watch for volatility, whether we get a rejection or not, is going to be at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 30 minutes after market open. We have the ISM Services PMI, employment new orders and such. So just as a reminder, 10 o'clock a.m. is what the data I'm referring to. The main move is going to come then. NVIDIA should rebound, and we'll see if you reject or not. For Bitcoin, as of right now, it's continuing to dump, so it's still looking pretty weak. We'll see how this ends up reacting. I think that this might get close to about this 56,500 to 56,900 zone. So I do anticipate more downside on Bitcoin, still looking quite bearish. So watch for a little bit more downside. We'll see what kind of reaction we get. The news that comes out is also going to have a big effect on this. So this suggests that the market might see more downside. So I'm a little concerned. I think that the market may attempt to rebound in the morning. Then we'll see if we get a big rejection. But that's going to depend a lot on all the data. For Tesla, Tesla's attempting to rebound. We have this 209 area as resistance. If this breaks, I'll be looking for 212 and then 215. But just note that those are going to be some tough resistance areas. And if we end up losing support at 205, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 202 or below. So I think that Tesla could attempt to rebound towards 210, maybe even up to 212, somewhere in this range. I think that this 20 EMA is going to be retested, so a little rebound is going to come to Tesla. But we'll see if we get a big rejection or not. One thing worth mentioning is that we do have a potential flag forming on our larger time frames. I actually drew this out in my previous videos, and we'll be watching to see if this ends up being the case or not. But if you look at this like this, with this very, very nice looking flag, and we have this nice zone where Tesla's kind of trading in, but the trend is more bearish for now. So this does favor downside. I think we're going to rebound a little bit tomorrow, possibly try to retest around 212, and we'll see if Tesla rejects or not. If the data is bad, we're going to be getting a big rejection, start dipping back down to the lower 200s. If we do break it, we have to get back above 215 to turn bullish. So we'll see which way it goes. Look for a rebound, and we'll see if he rejects. There is still a risk of that looking at the current trend. For the QQQ, we look more bearish right now. We're continuing to fall. We will see if the QQQ could get bought back up and retest 450. If we break 452, we could rebound. If we fail, if we hit 415 reject, we're going back down to 444, if not lower. So we will see if we get a big rejection or not. As of right now, the chart is looking more bearish, and it does favor the downside. But I think we're going to rebound a little bit in the morning. Then we'll see if we get a rejection or not. Apple also has a head and shoulders like structure. With the news coming out about Warren Buffett, this might actually sell off a bit. If the market does pop a little bit, this might actually start to dip anyways. So we could see a dip down to about 216, if not 212. So just be very careful. That's going to be a little bit risky. A little pop and drop is still very possible for the markets. For the IWM, we're still looking bearish, but it depends if we get bought back up and hold above 210. If we manage to reclaim 210, we could rebound. If we fail to do so, there's a risk of us dipping all the way down towards 203. This still looks bearish, but it depends if we could retest this resistance. We might retest 210. If we reject, we're coming back down to 203. If we break through 210, we could try to rebound, but this still looks more bearish and favors the downside. It favors it's going to rebound and reject, but just to be safe, watch and see. For Coinbase, we look more bearish. There's no sign of a true bounce yet. And we have a nice double top like structure. If we lose structure here, I think we could be retracing back down to about this 190, 194 area as we have previous resistance becoming support. If we lose 200, we'll be looking for that support. So we'll have to see how things go. For Amazon, we have a big rejection that's forming, and we're continuing to look kind of weak. So, it's looking a little bit weak in my opinion as well. We have this gap to fill all the way up here towards this 171 area. And we have this support all the way down here towards 166. I think that Amazon has been dipping really hard, and there's some buyers trying to defend it. So it might grab liquidity down to this 166 area and start consolidating. Look for some consolidation going into tomorrow. I don't really expect much, but I do think it's going to consolidate a bit and then possibly bounce later. I think that Meta might dip down to about 482. We'll see if it bounces or not. If it loses that, it's going to dip lower. We'll have to see on that. For Microsoft, it's still on a bit of a downtrend. Might retest for this 415 area. It could retest 410 to 415, and we'll see if it rejects or not. As of right now, it's rejecting off its 20 EMA on the 4-hour time frame. Same thing with Google. We're on a big downtrend. We could rebound and retest 170, then reject. So watch to see if that ends up being the case. But that's it for my analysis, guys. I think a lot of stocks are still looking bearish, but the market might try to gap up tomorrow and try to push just a little bit, at least in the morning for the first 15 to 30 minutes. And then once we get this data, we'll see what kind of reaction we get. If we get a negative reaction, look for another rug pull like we've been seeing. If the reaction is positive, the market could rebound, but it all depends on the data, so we'll just have to wait and see. But once again, guys, the data was not too good for Thursday and Friday, so there's a good chance we're not going to get good data for tomorrow. So just be mindful of the risk of downside, looking at the current trends and looking at the data. All right, so thank you for listening. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you and peace out.